Hello everybody and welcome. Today is day 46 of our 90-day life transformation program from mediocrity to mastery, and we completed the financial freedom section yesterday after a week of that. That was intense, wasn't it? And now we're on the expanding your influence, the next chapter of the book, The Values Factor by Dr. John Demartini. So you want to buy your book and go to drdemartini.com if you haven't already done so. And if this is the first live training you're watching, then make sure after you watch this that you go back and watch every single one of them sequentially. That is very important. And make sure you have your book so you can complete the exercises and get the transformation that you're here for. Otherwise, why are you here, right? So we're going to be going into the 7 fears in this section. I don't think we'll get through all 7 fears today. But we're going to start on those 7 fears anyway. And that's what I see as the main thing that really stops people from taking action is fear, right? You know, and a decision I made long time ago was by looking around me and seeing that people weren't living their dreams, or people weren't doing what they really wanted to do because of fear. The only thing that was stopping them was fear, right? And so I said, well, you know, what's this thing fear anyway? You know, I looked at it straight on and said, okay, what is this thing fear? You know, what? And I just kind of started analyzing and picking apart fear. I said, look, I'm not going to let fear stop me. Fear seemed to be like this being, you know, that was I talk about it like a dragon, right? Rumi says, our greatest treasures are guarded by fierce dragons. And so I see myself as the dragon slayer. You know, slay that dragon, and then the fear's out of the way, right? Yeah, so our greatest fears are like dragons guarding our greatest treasures. That's what it said. So, you know, whatever you fear, that's what you got to get through. That's what you got to get over, because at the other side of those fears is actually what you want in life. And it's just the way life's been set up for us. You know, that we got to develop our courage, and we got to get over our fears, and we got to break through. That's just the way it is, right? You know? So we best to get on with it, because we're going to have to do it sometime, you know? And so what I noticed with myself was 2 of my main fears were the fear of failure and the fear of rejection. So I did so much just to put myself in situations where I would have to face those fears, where I would be rejected, where I would fail. I actually set myself up for failure many times, just so I would have the experience of failure and go, okay, that wasn't so bad, was it? You know? And so yeah, so like, for example, public speaking, that was a fear of mine. But what did I really fear about public speaking? Well, I definitely had some sort of mental block where I just literally couldn't do it. I couldn't speak for more than maybe 30 seconds. And then my mind would go completely blank, and I couldn't think of another word to say. Just, that was it. And so that was my fear. My fear was of failing in public speaking, getting up to give a speech and then just not being able to do it, just my mind going blank and having nothing to say. And then my other fear was being rejected by my audience. My audience just seeing that I wasn't good enough, and that I'd failed and hadn't been able to you know, deliver, right? So that was a fear. So how did I get over that fear? Well, the main things I did was I just put myself in situations where I had to do it. I put myself on the line. Anytime I got a chance to public speak, I would just go and do it. And just be afraid. Because I saw that public speaking was actually in alignment with my values and my mission and my vision for my life. I said, well, I got to get over this. You know, so any fears you have that are that if you don't get over them, you won't be able to complete your vision. You won't be able to complete your mission for your life. then those are the fears you've got to get over. There's some fears that I have no interest, really no interest getting over, because they have no effect on my life. If I wanted to be like a wildlife expert and go in and you know, pick up big insects and spiders and things, then I might have to get over my fear of big insects and spiders and be able to pick them up and stuff like that. But I have no interest in picking up big spiders and insects, so I have really no interest in getting over that fear. I'm quite happy having a little bit of trepidation when I come in close encounter with a large insect. I've got no problem with small spiders. You know, spiders that size, no, I'm okay with them. I'm okay with small insects. But when they get to a certain size, then it's like, okay, I feel it like a shiver going up my neck and into my head, and my head starts to tingle. Well, that's like a slight phobia, you know. But I have no real interest in getting over that. It's because it doesn't affect my life in any way, you know. It's to me, it's okay to have that slight fear. Do you know what I mean? But any fears that are going to get in the way of you living your dream life, those are the fears that you want to get over. Make sense? And the more you do something, the more you get over it. So if I want to get over my fear of spiders, if I just started letting spiders crawl over my hands, and I went somewhere where I could like get in contact with insects and just let it start happening, I would start to get over that. That's one way of doing it, right? Same as public speaking. I just started doing it, and I just started getting better at it. My mind started getting clearer, and suddenly I was able to put some sentences together, and suddenly it could take up more than 30 seconds. Suddenly I could speak for 5 minutes. I would practice by myself, speaking to a wall or speaking to a tree or something. Nothing wrong with that, huh? You speak to a wall, you speak to a tree, they appreciate it, they enjoy it. You know, speak to some plants, they like the attention, like anyone. Okay, so we're going to not get too weird on you right now. Let's go to 285. We're on page 285 of our book, and we're going to be reading from that right now. 285 of the Values Factor. So let's go. Expanding your influence. We're here for a reason. I believe a bit of the reason is to throw little torches out to lead people through the dark. Whoopi Goldberg. Makes sense to me. Every one of us has an inspired leader within. The question is not whether we have the capacity to become a leader. Each of us does, from the poorest resident of a Calcutta slum to the most glamorous member of a royal family. The question is whether we choose to awaken and embrace our inherent capacity for leadership, or to overlook and be oblivious to it. Most of us want to truly make a difference, to be valued enough to be remembered, and to leave a legacy behind us. Can anyone really say they want to be forgotten or insignificant? The greater our service to the world, and the more powerful our influence, the more likely we are to leave our mark in history. Not for the sake of grandeur, but for the sake of higher fulfillment and contribution. When you think about your own desired level of influence and leadership, you might aspire to be an entrepreneur, a political leader, a social visionary, the founder of a philanthropic charity or foundation, a leader in the arts or entertainment world, a cutting-edge scientist or inventor, a pioneer in education or medicine, a style-conscious trendsetter or designer, or some type of spiritual leader. Or perhaps you see yourself as a leader on a smaller, more personal scale, in your relationship, family, community, or workplace. Whether you envision the scope of your leadership as a large or small, global or personal, you become an authentic leader by getting in tune with your highest value, which is your purpose, or what you might call your mission. Do you already see yourself as a leader and wonder how you can expand the scope and effectiveness of your leadership? Or do you yearn to further develop your leadership and wonder why you haven't yet attained the influence you seek? Perhaps you haven't yet dared even to aspire to leadership, believing that true leaders have qualities that you believe you lack. One of the more powerful moments of my seminar, the Breakthrough Experience, is when my participants are working with one of the sets of questions contained in the Demartini method. Upon deep introspection, they discover that they already possess every quality they admire, as well as every quality they dislike, to precisely the same degree as those whom they admire or dislike the most. The Breakthrough Experience also reveals to my participants that their social world is assisting them in awakening their most authentic nature so that they can become the leaders they have the potential to be. To paraphrase Marianne Williamson, we serve the world by shining, not shrinking. To help you achieve your potential, I'll share with you the secrets of becoming an authentic leader, including the insights I provide to the business leaders for whom I regularly do training and consultations. Whether you are a leader in a religious organization, an educational institution, a profit-making enterprise, a company, a department, an area of expertise, or a family, you can benefit from understanding how your highest values guide and shape every aspect of the group you lead. The Values Factor can help you realize your leadership potential and become the great leader that you have it in you to be. The 7 fears that block your path. Like everyone else in the world, you have a unique mission of service. And though you may assume or claim that your mission is unknown or at least unclear, it still remains silently within, yearning to express itself. If you feel you are unclear about your own mission, or if you do not see yourself as a leader inspired by the hidden inner mission, you may be allowing the following fears to block your vast potential. 1. Fear of breaking the morals and ethics of some spiritual authority. Have you ever wanted to do something that you felt was deeply meaningful, but stopped in your tracks for the fear of what some spiritual authority might think about you? Perhaps you feared acting in a manner that someone or some group might not perceive as being spiritual or moral enough. Or perhaps you feared being rejected by some spiritual authority, or being shunned by some religious or spiritual leader or movement. You might have denied the truth of your own highest values and subordinated them to so-called spiritual authority. Or you might have avoided actions that seem to be called for by your highest values. You might even have been immobilized by fear of disapproval, rejection, or shunning. Perhaps you are simply following the spiritual rules taught to you by your parents, whether or not those rules have any relevance to you or your parents. I'm thinking of the story about the lady who cut the leg off the turkey because that's what her mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother did. When the family finally asked the great-grandmother why she had prepared turkey in that way, she said, "Because I had a short oven and I couldn't fit the whole turkey in there." Yet 3 generations later, and with a huge oven, her family was still cutting the leg off the turkey, simply because they had never questioned why. They also never questioned why they were eating a turkey in the first place. You might want to ask yourself whether, like that family, you are subordinating yourself to some spiritual dogmas, values, or principles that you have been taught without stopping to question them or to ask whether they fit your own authentic highest values. I'm not denying that many spiritual traditions do contain many valuable ideas, principles, and guidelines. I'm just suggesting that before you blindly follow any dogmatic idea from any tradition, it is wise to make sure that the idea is sound or meaningful to you. Ironically, many of the inspired people who initiated those spiritual teachings and their evolving traditions did not subordinate themselves to other previous spiritual teachers or leaders. They had their own authentic, inspired, and in some cases, mystical visions, and then passed their torches from their hearts to others. If you admire the founder of some spiritual tradition, give yourself permission to acknowledge and awaken within yourself whatever you see in them. Allow yourself to stand on their shoulders instead of living in their shadows, and be willing to question every precept before you blindly follow or subordinate yourself. If you find that something is true to you, incorporate it and live it. But don't blindly do anything simply because you have been told to do so. Like the spiritual leaders who inspired you, find the authentic leader that lives within you and manifest that leader into the world. By living congruently according to your highest values, your leadership will spontaneously emerge from within, along with your inspired mission. There is no reason that we cannot bring forth today just as a spiritual leader as we have ever had in the past. Okay, number 2, fear of not being smart enough. Perhaps you're shrinking from manifesting your authentic leader because you're afraid of not being smart enough. Or perhaps you're afraid of not having the right degree, credential, or background. Not having a degree does not have to stop you, but fear of not having a degree might cause you to hold yourself back. However, there's nearly always somebody out there with no degree who goes out and changes history. Did you know that people can get an entire PhD studying one tiny portion of another person's life? And that the average PhD takes about 4 more years to acquire after someone has gotten their undergraduate degree. So if you're between the ages of 30 and 70, you have in you anywhere from 7 to 17 PhDs worth of experiences. Someday, someone could make a PhD out of studying your life, if you honor yourself and give yourself permission to do something extraordinary. So I want you to go and look into the mirror and tell yourself, I am amazingly intelligent and my life has earned me multiple PhDs. I am not telling you not to get an advanced education. I myself had nearly 10 years of college and professional training, and then continued on with an extensive schedule of diverse forms of advanced education. I'm all for education, whether it's self-taught or comes from somebody else. But I don't want you to let a lack of diplomas or the standards of any school stop you from your dreams, because many, if not most schools, are going to set lower standards than I hope you set for yourself. Even some Ivy League educational institutions demand from their students less than is truly required to excel in the real world of business and the professions. So don't go for the bare minimum. Go for your most ingenious dreams. I can make a list of so many people who never finished high school, but who today are multimillionaires, billionaires, or world leaders in various fields. Even before I got my advanced degree, I wanted to be among those leaders because I fully intended to make a contribution to planet Earth. I didn't want to make some vague contribution. I wanted to leave a mark and make a memorable contribution to history. I'm very inspired to contribute enough service to the world to achieve that. And the most effective way to make that kind of mark is to be authentic, to stand up and break through the limitations of any stagnant belief system that you might hold. The key is knowing that deep inside you, with or without your degree, you possess something really magnificent. The power to be an extraordinary individual and a unique leader. I wonder what would happen if you allowed your inner leader to come out into the light of day. I wonder what would happen if you set yourself socially impacting goals that you knew you were willing to work toward. I wonder what would happen if you chunked those goals down into small enough bites so that you could overcome any resistance about taking each step and relentlessly pursuing them. I wonder what would happen if you surrounded yourself with people who wanted to achieve those goals, and if you delegated whatever you could to other people, friends, colleagues, employees, so that you could stay completely focused on your vision of leading. For more about delegating, see Chapter 7, as well as further in this chapter. You might find that focusing on your mission, the reflection of your highest values, while owning the traits of anyone you imagine to be more intelligent, drives out any fears about intelligence, credentials, or degrees, allowing you to expand your influence and manifest your inner leader. All right, so we'll leave it at that for today. And that's the first 2 fears, and we have 7 altogether, so we will continue and go through the other 5 tomorrow. So look forward to that one. But to me, it just, I don't know, it just seems like truth, right? Just makes so much sense, doesn't it? So much sense. Imagine thinking about yourself like that, like living such an extraordinary life that one day people will want to do a PhD on your life. That's an interesting way of looking at things, isn't it? I quite like the sound of that. How about we do that? How about we live such an extraordinary life that one day there will be universities and people who will want to make our life a PhD, a portion of our life, because it's just so interesting. Wouldn't that be cool? All right, cool. So that's us for today. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you click on the link below. And if you like a vehicle for financial freedom, you can join our team, a vehicle for leadership. We're the best products and services in leadership, online marketing, communication, speaking skills that you can find anywhere. So if you want to get involved with that, click on the link below to get more of that. Or if you just want to be on my subscriber list, again, click on the link below, put your details in, and I'll send you out some nice emails every now and again, and you can avail to that. Okay, thanks for watching. See you again mañana.